6 o'clock, and we're going to open up the City of Columbus Council meeting for June 24th, 2026. And the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody stand up.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The third item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda. So I'll start off by Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve the agenda for the June 24th, 2026 City Council meeting.
Jenny, I second.
So we got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, I.
Scott, aye.
Karen, I.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. We'll go on to item number B, the consent agenda. And I'll make another motion. I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve the consent agenda as presented on the agenda tonight. Is there a second?
Scott, aye. Second.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other discussion on the consent agenda? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, I.
Scott, aye.
Karen, I.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes. We'll go on to item number C, presentations and items for council's action. The first item on the list here is the public forum. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to get up and make a comment to the council? Nobody in this audience. Anybody online? I don't see any. Is anybody online, Millie?
I got it.
All right.
Online.
No one, okay. Since nobody wants to get up and say anything, we'll close the public forum. The second item on the agenda here is I can pronounce it one more.
Jusczak.
Jusczak, I apologize. Jusczak's trucking conditional use permit. If the Jusczaks could come up, whoever, and who's ever presenting this. Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and the address?
Joe Pierce.
Adam Wojcik.
Okay, and we probably have their names and addresses.
We do.
Well, good evening. Glad to have you here tonight. I read over the presentation and I went to I think it was at the Planning Commission also, and I looked at the packet and all that, and I have one major question I got to ask, and it wasn't asked, and that is, what are your hours?
Our hours of operation right now are about 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Is that Monday through Friday?
Correct.
And Saturday and Sundays you won't be working there?
No, the only time we would be working Saturday or Sunday would be overtime, which is rare.
Okay, and at this parking spot for the tractor trailers that they're going to rent there, that's open 24/7.
It's open 24/7. What we see most of the time is the same hours as we have if they're coming in or out.
Okay.
Yep.
And other question I had, and I don't know if it was addressed to you, but we brought it up to another company that's across the street from you. When you do work on your tractors, trailers, or whatever there, in the summertime, you probably leave your doors open, correct?
We do.
You do. So I see your building is facing north then, garage doors?
We have no garage doors facing north.
They're all facing south?
They're facing
west?
east and west.
Okay, I don't know, I read where it was 600 feet to the nearest house or something to that effect. But I know to the east of you, they'll probably is our neighbor, Forest Lake. I don't know if there's going to be housing going in there or what. But just to let you know, if you're not working at night, like 3 to 11 or midnight, I don't see any issues there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure about your hours because they are building houses somewhere to the east there, a
Sure.
lot of them. So, and that's about all the questions I had after I read over the packet and listened to the council, to the Planning Commission. Anybody here have a comment?
This is Jenny. One quick question. So related to the approved leased parking, so I'm assuming that that would be like a scan in and scan out or a code in, code out situation. You don't have somebody on site 24/7?
No, there's nobody on site. It's managed by cameras that read license plates, facial recognition, and then key cards that scan you in and out. RFID, yep.
Thank you.
Scott, you have anything?
I don't. Thank you.
Karen?
No, I do not, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Well, I'm going to add on to Jenny's real quick. So tractor trailers in the wintertime, you're going to have plug-ins or are they going to run?
We do offer plugins out there, yep.
So the chances of tractors running out there all night are pretty slim to none.
It's not something we would allow.
And I read it in your packet there also that no one's going to spend a night out there.
It is strictly for storing the truck and trailer, not a person.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
This is Jenny, one more question. So I know that you had a potential second level, is that right? You were potentially going to add and expand vertically, was that correct?
Correct.
But that was not included in this. I just wanted to clarify. Is that
is
correct?
correct.
Okay, but that would be a future expansion. Do you have any idea on a timeline for, and I know that that's not being considered or voted on tonight, but just out of curiosity.
Something we've thought around 5 years.
5 years, okay.
And
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lily told you that you'd have to reopen your CUP then?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to the architect at Seth, who said that I told him the height requirements just for the building, that's fully under the code, so there's no changing that. And he said that was okay.
Yep.
So I assume he told you that. Yeah.
He did. Yep. Thank you.
Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, Mayor, just a comment. Again, I brought this up, I think, in the last council meeting in the Planning Commission's report. Just want to acknowledge city staff and Jusczak Trucking put a lot of effort into updating that conditional use permit to include several items on that contract parking. So clearly, they're willing to cooperate and work with the city on these matters. So.
Great. No other comments?
No, just that the building looks very nice, so thank you for keeping that in mind and really working to have something looking very nice in our city. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate the city.
Thank you. Well, there's no other comments. I'll make a motion. I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve the conditional use permit for associated uses recommendations of the City of Columbus Planning Commission for Jusczak Trucking at 14925 Hornsby Street, subject to the conditions of approval as presented in the staff report for this item.
This is Scott. I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye?
Scott, aye.
Karen, I.
And Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the city. Welcome. We'll go on to item number 3 is the City Hall Project Option Selection and Referendum Resolution 26-14. Motion to be determined. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The current City Hall facility has served the community for many years and has been an important center for municipal functions and gatherings. The Columbus City Hall building was constructed in 3 phases between 1980 and 1993. This piecemeal construction has resulted in a fragmented collection of spaces that over this period have experienced increasing maintenance needs, functional
Excuse me, Jack, can you move the mic up? There you go.
functional limitations and deficiencies related to accessibility, building systems, integration, space utilization, and safety issues. Recognizing the need for improvements to City Hall, the Columbus City Council started setting aside money in 2021 for a future City Hall renovation or new build. The source of the funds for this reserve account came from the amortization of the bond that financed the Public Works building. Those payments were redirected to City Fund 407 to cover future costs for a City Hall renovation or replacement. The balance of that fund is now $464,000. To begin the process of addressing City Hall issues, City Council engaged engineering and other inspection services in 2024 and 2025 to assess the structural integrity of the building. Significant issues were identified that prompted discussion on solutions for the City Hall building concerns. Wold Architects was hired in January 26 to complete the needs assessment and develop options, costs, and concept plans to address these problems. A phased approach was not included in their recommendation options to address the building concerns. Their proposal is summarized in attachment 1 of your packet. City Council will be requested to make a decision regarding the future City Hall facility at tonight's meeting. Options and their associated costs have been presented to the City Council and have been discussed over 10 meetings in the last 4 months, and a financing plan is in place to fund the project. As this matter could be a subject for a referendum, and it was intended that the council would consider calling a referendum on this item tonight, it was brought to our attention that the city cannot initiate a referendum on their own. Referendums for this type of vote have to be initiated by a citizen petition. That would be triggered by an approval of the project, which would occur probably as a result of a public hearing and resolution in July. And then that's when the petition process could start if that was the direction the citizens wanted to go. City Council will be requested tonight to consider the choice of a new build or a complete renovation of the City Hall facility. Addressing only the most pressing needs of the building would be an alternative should there be no direction on those options. If renovation or construction of a new building is chosen as an option, the City Hall is requested to hold a public hearing, not a referendum now, because we were informed today that we can't hold one, but a public hearing and a possible resolution on July 22nd to address and approve this action going forward. At this time, that's when a petition can start, and the petition will have 30 days to be filed with the city to determine if a referendum was to be held. The original information provided to the city on the referendum did not indicate or include anything other than what was originally provided to the council. Even without this, we are not going to be able to make the November 11th deadline for submitting this for a general election ballot. And in the end, if a petition is submitted that has the correct number of signatures, there would be a special election held potentially in February to address this concern. Attached in your packet are 2 resolutions. Those resolutions will not be enacted tonight. The vote will be to proceed with the new build or the renovation, so we can narrow it down and work out some more details on that will be presented and discussed at and prior to with the public hearing on July the 8th. So with that, I'm going to let Megan fill in some additional details on this so that we know exactly where we're going with the project at this stage.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I'm happy to walk through the statutory basis for why we have given you this guidance tonight, but I thought perhaps you all might have some questions about why our process has changed.
Not I, just because you're an attorney, and I'll take your word on it. That's why we're changing.
Yeah, no, I'd rather have you walk through it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, very good.
For the public, anyway.
Yep, absolutely. So the City Council is vested with the power that is deemed given to it by the Minnesota legislature. The City Council is a statutory body. It's a creation of Minnesota law. Underneath Minnesota law, the City Council has independent authority to call for the issuance of capital improvement general obligation bonds. That's an authority that lies with you and is vested in you under Minnesota statutes 475.52. Now, there is a line of cases that talks about the referendum as advisory opinions. And so oftentimes council members who are engaged who are heavily engaged in community-based decision-making, right, wanting to go out and find out what their voters and the electors believe to be true about moving forward with a significant investment or a significant policy choice, desire to put that policy question, which are those 2 resolutions that were in your packet, on a ballot. okay? But what the Minnesota Supreme Court has explicitly said is that where the legislature has delegated decision-making power to a city council, the council has no authority to pass that power to voters through an advisory vote. And in this particular situation, the city council has the authority to issue the capital improvement general obligation bonds, and the citizens, the petitioners or the residents of the city of Columbus, have the ability to call for what is defined as a reverse referendum. And there are really only two scenarios under Minnesota law where a reverse referendum is specifically determined, and this is one of them. And so what that process looks like is, unfortunately, the city doesn't have the independent authority or the opportunity to go directly to a vote to its electors. Instead, it goes through the following process, which is to hold a required public hearing to determine whether or not it elects to move forward with issuance of the Capital Improvement Project GO bonds. At that point in time, if a resolution is adopted and passed, then the electors have 30 days to file a petition with the city clerk. That petition will be reviewed and voted on by the council, and then the council will, assuming the petition is fully valid under Minnesota law, there's a very good, for those of you who might be interested in petitioning, there's a very good summary of what is required on the League of Minnesota Cities website. The city council will accept the petition and call by resolution, a resolution that looks very similar to what was in your packet earlier this evening, call by resolution for a ballot question. Now, there's been this conversation about, can we hit this November 2nd deadline if we are thoughtful about this process? We cannot for two reasons. First of all, the November 2nd deadline requires 84 days of notice to the public. That's what's required for a special election. And this type of question, a reverse referendum, is always a special election, even if it's held at the same time as a general election. So there's a different type of resources that are utilized, right? Getting out ballot machines and doing that work. But very technically, it will still always be a special election. And so, so 84 days, I looked it up from now, is mid-September, and you might say to yourself, well, why can't we make that November election still? And that's because the process that the city is required to go through requires 10 days published notice in the newspaper, then calling a public hearing, then making a determination after hearing members of the public at that public hearing on whether or not to issue a capital improvement bond, and then the 30 days runs. So by stacking those timelines on top of one another, that is how we exceed the November 2nd date. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I have added to your packet this evening an outline of all of this for your information, and we do have extras for members of the public as well.
Well, I'm sure that people that are out here tonight are kind of hearing a different story than what we told you at the open house. I thought that, or the information that we had, that we could throw it on the ballot ourselves as a body, but I guess according to law, we can't. So the way I understand it, on the 22nd, we'll have a public hearing. And after the public hearing, we have to wait a period of time, and we'll make a decision on whether the petition, if there is a petition, comes forth, correct?
Absolutely. So the council has the authority to issue the bonds. The residents and the electors have the authority to bring a petition. And, for lack of a better analogy, we can sort of think of like this as a dance, right? You are going to dance your next two steps in determining what is going to happen to this building, and then the electors will dance their next two steps.
Okay. So tonight, do we want to give our thoughts on it then?
So tonight you are being asked to give staff direction specifically with regards to new construction or renovation of City Hall, And then based upon that conversation, then I would ask you, assuming that you are moving forward with one of those options, I'm going to ask you to make a motion to direct staff to publish notice of a public hearing on the capital improvement plan and the associated bond, and to call for that public hearing. And I understand that that public hearing date would be July 22nd.
Okay. Does everybody understand? Well, now we get into a discussion. And we discussed it the other night at open house on what route to go. And we had like 3 routes. And the way I look at it, there was 3 routes. One route was build a new building. Another route was to renovate this one. And the third route is piecemeal, and I shouldn't say piecemeal, but just stick in fix the parts as we get going. Instead of renovating the whole thing, just put a roof on it, do the siding, whatever we got to do. So I made a comment, and I'll stick by it. I've been here in the city for about almost 50 years, and we've always piecemealed everything. I've watched all 3 of these buildings come up, and they're always piecemealed. And it's a pole barn. Regardless of whatever happens, if we renovate it, it'll still be piecemealed to a certain point. And it's going to have what they call stick built or whatever. Like I said the other night, we go down the road down to Columbus Elementary. It's 51 years old. And that building is in great shape because it was built right. It wasn't piecemeal. They went in and we bonded it as citizens, and we built the building. And that building is still in good shape and probably go another 30 years. Maybe need a roof or whatever. It needed a septic system pretty soon. But we need a septic system here. We need a new roof. We got to tear the sides off to see what is going on, what Mother Nature has done to us. And my point of view is we don't stick any money in this building, and we go forward with building a new one. So, anybody else have a comment to make?
Go ahead, whoever wants to go.
Not everyone all at once. This is Jenny. So obviously we have several camps and a lot of consideration. I'm born and raised in Columbus, and I have been through all of the things as well. And I think it's important that we keep budget in mind. And I think all of our residents feel that way. And I think one of the things that a lot of us have heard is that the building that we were looking at building was potentially too big and too much. That being said, most of the feedback outside of that was still potentially to build a new building. I heard a few people potentially say remodel. We have really good staff here, and we have worked very hard to have good staff. And these staff members live with rodents, and they live with things that they should not live with. And if we want to keep good staff, we want our residents happy with what this is, we have to invest in our city. And so I am in agreement that if we budget efficiently and look at not having the $7.2 million building, I think a new building is the route I would go. One of the considerations I think is important that a lot of, not to say it's looked over, but there is this 32% cost of we don't really know, right? And I think that that is built in just as a sense of if you have tickets, if you add things potentially in the middle of construction, all of these things, that's 32%. That's what, almost $2 million? $1.5 million?
Yeah, it's like 1.7.
And that is not the building. That is not the pavement. All of that is pre-considered. This 32% is just buffer. That is important to me because I don't think that we really understand what that looks like. I think if we plan correctly and we are focused on the front end, then that 32% could be cut out or at least pushed down to this 5 to 10%. It might, and I don't know if you care to speak to this, but to me that's important. And I think that that is something that is looked over. People hear $7.2 million, and to me, that's not correct if we budget efficiently and do it correctly from the front end. And I don't mean to hold us over here, but I just wanted to point that out. And do I think we could potentially, one of the things I also heard was that we could have this kind of co-op situation between our council chambers and a community center and downsize that way. And I think that's important as well. So if we can focus on some of those things, I do think it's important to potentially move forward with the new building.
Thank you, Jenny. I would like to add one more thing to it, and I want the public to know that if our taxes are raised because of this new building, we'll try and get out of this. We'll find another route. We're on the assumption, or I am on the assumption that when we call it the perfect storm, we're not going to raise your levy. We're not going to raise the taxes. Our taxes the levy may go up because of gas or gravel or whatever's going on normally. But this building, if we go new, will not raise your levy. And we'll know that come early September.
We'll know definitely by September the 11th. That's when the preliminary budget has to be approved.
So we'll go to that point, and if it looks like it's going to raise the levy, we'll have to back off and find another route, because I think we've got the money, and it's not every day you sell land, and not every day the city gets $1 million or something, but we can knock this cost down from 7 down to 5, and we can still work on it. If it doesn't ring up our taxes, I think it's a goal for me. If the taxes go up because of that issue, I think we got to back off and regroup and talk to the public, but that's where I stand on that. Anybody else want to make a comment?
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, and one of the things that I thought Jack said that was important at our open house, our last open house, is he was talking about the city's debt. And he said that we're sitting at 12% and we can go as high as 20% of our budget, which to me is important because that tells me already that we don't have a lot of debt as a city. So for me, it's important that we move forward just for the simple fact, I can't see putting good money to bad building. I think it's important that we move forward. And like you said, I don't want to see our taxes raised either. And if that comes to that, I think we need to go in a different direction.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment in regards to what we heard at the open house? We heard there is support for doing something to this building. It's not a piecemeal or a phased renovation. And the other thing we heard is the thought that the building was designed too big. I've had a talk with the architects, and they are working on some ways to reduce, hopefully, some of the space. Like Ron said, is to have dual purpose functions between City Hall chambers and a community center. All those things that will make the building, those spaces, used more efficiently and cut down some on the size of the building. So those will be reflected in our further discussions also. So we heard what you were saying.
Thank you, Jack.
Rob, I'll defer to you first.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Scott. I heard yesterday more comments than none, and even in meetings previous, people reaching out that the future offices was a problem, and I'm in favor of possibly cutting some of them future offices, maybe planning for a couple extra in case something crazy does happen. Running Aces has a lot of possible development coming in that corridor. We have things that could happen and we need to be prepared for it, so we're not in this position like we are currently, taking a coffee bar out of the main office area. A coffee bar, I mean, it was like paper storage with a Keurig maker on it, and then shove our planner in a closet, right? Essentially is what it is, and it was a last minute thing. What do we do? Now we have a code compliance officer, we need a place for a planner. We've outgrown this. Yes, the space is here, but to work with what we have, like Ron said, and I've said it from the beginning, that's a post-frame building, right? It's not a lot of options. I've been part of the whole
process and planning process from early on in past council when we were doing investigation and looking at the post on this building. I've personally done a lot of water remediation work or mold work or water intrusion work. And this is bad here. I mean, you open walls up and things are rotted back there, right? We don't know what we tear into, and yes, they're planning for the worst case, but also we have a safety thing here. Again, we're in a pole barn. If there's a tornado, where do our city staff go? Where's their safe zone? If we hire someone that's a mother, where does she go to pump milk for her baby, right? Things like that. We're potentially going to lose employees or miss out on employees because the environment they work in. There's been a lot of employees, planners, things that have left, went to other cities, and I've heard them say, well, it's a nicer building, it's a more inviting workspace to work in, right? We're not asking for everything out of this deal, but we're asking for a reasonable masonry or steel stud type building that shows what Columbus is, right? There's a lot of houses that are very expensive here, and people pay taxes to live here and be out in the open. But our city hall does not reflect that. It's back to it. It's a pole barn, right? And that's what our taxpayers are paying for. So when they come to these meetings, yes, we have a nice space now, but it's what's behind the drywall. Another thing is we hold our residents and our businesses to a high standard, right? They got to have X amount of masonry, this, that, the other thing. We got a leaking roof with siding falling off. We got mice in here. There's bats in the attic. I've been up there. There's water in the insulation. Bath fans are leaking. I mean, I could go on and on about this, but maybe scaling this back, listening to what the residents are saying, and then move forward with the new building would be my opinion. So hope that helps.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, I will also commit. So first thing, just to be clear, what we're looking at today is simply new construction or remodel is what you're looking for, right? I'm probably the last council member that is changing his mind on whether we remodel or new construct. Up until the public meeting yesterday, I was all about reconstructing. However, I haven't been here 50 years or my whole life, but I have lived here 22 years. And in that 22 years, I've kind of geeked out and followed town board meetings and city council meetings. And this has always been a subject of every town board or every city council that sat in this chambers. And we keep kicking the can down the road here. I think this city council has finally been put in a position where we have to stop kicking the can down the road and do something about it. Maybe we don't want to be in this position, but that's why we're up here, to make these hard decisions. That being said, I think just to be clear, we can scrap everything Wold has done so far if we want to and start over on new construction. I don't think we have to go that far, but certainly modify what we have before us so that it is a little more appetizing to everybody. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to have further input into the design and make changes after tonight. And so, I'm for the new construction.
Well, thank you. Scott, I think everybody that came, I seen you last week, when was it, Monday? Monday night. I get mixed up on what day of the week it is, but I did also hear a lot of people say, tear it down and whatever, but you do hear people say remodel it. I don't want to go in debt either. I'm on a retirement. I used to hear that all the time in these town boards. I'm on a fixed income. Well, I am too, but I think this is an opportunity we don't get all the time. Like I said, the 1 million coming in, that apartment building comes in, and we just had a new trucking outfit come in. Things are looking better, and I think we're pretty stable. And I think this is a time to try and make the move. But I do leave that one issue up there that if this is going to raise our levy, we're going to back off, or I'm backing off, and I'll make a motion that we regroup, or somebody on, I think everybody kind of agrees with that. I don't know, we haven't voted or nothing on it, on that issue. So Jack?
If we can, ask Megan if she would form and phrase the motion for us tonight to reflect what our overall decision was, which direction we're going, and to reference what would follow up with the public hearings, resolutions, and any potential opportunity for a citizen-based referendum.
Mr. Mayor, may I follow up on something you said as well? So with the levy referendum, I think it's important to consider that we have an opportunity here with the levy referendum, and that's kind of what started this whole ball rolling with City Hall. That opportunity isn't going to probably exist in the future. So that's why this whole process really started in my mind, because of the opportunity. So the timing's right. At least referendum-wise. It's interesting, Jack and I had a conversation too. If we were to squirrel away money for 15 years to build a new city hall in 15 years, we would have to squirrel away, what, about $700,000 a year for 15 years? And by that time, you're looking at a $20,000 city hall.
$20 million.
Or $20 million dollars city hall. So it makes sense to do something now.
Right, I agree with you. And it's not like we can save money because we try to be frugal, so we're not asking you for more money every year. And as you've seen for the last 3 years, we've been the lowest in the whole county for our taxes on our citizens. And I think it's carrying over, I think. So, well, let's move on then, Megan. You want to help us out here?
So the first motion that I'm going to ask from the City Council is direction to staff on new construction versus complete renovation. I believe that the guidance that I have heard from this council uniformly is to move forward with new construction. And so the motion would be to direct staff to pursue the new construction of the City Hall facility.
So can we use that?
You sure can. Yes.
Do you want me to make the motion? Or do you want to?
Well,
You can say as stated by the city attorney.
Go ahead, Mayor.
well, we'll just copy what the attorney. That's what
I
I'm being
second
most-
that then.
Okay, so we have a motion by the mayor based upon the city attorney's narrative of the discussion here this evening, with a second by Councilmember Bush. And then let's do a voice vote, please.
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, I.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. So the motion passes.
And then the second motion that is before you is to direct staff to publish a notice of public hearing on a capital improvement plan and issuance of general obligation bonds thereunder pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 475.521, with notice to be published in the city's official newspaper not less than 10 days prior to the hearing, and to schedule such public hearing following the completion of the required notice period.
Jenny, I second.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, I.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I thank everybody out there, but just remember the 22nd of July, and hopefully Melissa will have another little diagram. We're going to cut it down a little. I don't, at least the public will get to see and put their input in again.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? So there would be potentially another open house coming more potentially this fall or
Correct.
something like that. So there would still be more communication and feedback from residents. Is that correct? Can you speak
That's
to-
correct. As Megan said, once the public hearing notice is gone out, we have the public hearing and pass the resolution, then that period for the citizen-driven petition comes into effect, and we would be making a decision somewhere thereafter as to what the final cost of the building would be, and there would be opportunity for open house to discuss that, so people have another opportunity to comment.
And then one more follow-up with regard to communication. I know that that is potentially on our agenda here in the future to talk about communication with residents. We have that spring summer newsletter. We potentially were going to post that date in that newsletter that will go out to all residents.
That's correct. We'll have that, and that'll be a major subject to advertise the next open house, so everybody has access to it. It'll be something that everybody gets, and also it'll go into some detail and some written explanation for that discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
So if there's, Jack, question for you. If there's a petition signed and that's brought forth, how far does this push this down the road? I mean, because originally we started talking this, it'd be nice to get rolling in spring. Is that probably not a possibility if a petition comes up?
It would push it back to maybe late spring, early summer. We'd have to have a special election that would be held on February the 9th, 2027.
Sure.
And again, too, if there is no petition, there is no election. So then the city could go ahead and issue the bonds. We'd still have all the public hearing and the other avenues for comment. But without the petition, there's no requirement for an election.
Yeah. I guess just another feedback comment on that then is the farther we push that into the building season, that's the farther that price is going to go up because contractors are building out their building season in the winter for the following year, right? So
And
it might push it to the next year, right? Possibly.
Yeah, it just depends. I don't think it would. That would give Wold their time to get all their plans and specs in. And correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, I would anticipate if it does require a special election and it does pass, we could probably be out to bids within a couple of months, well, maybe 3 to 4 months after that. So if that was the case, we could award a bid in July about this time next year, so we could have either a late summer or early fall start. And if we don't, then the bonds could actually be issued probably sometime maybe in August if there is no election required.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mayor, if I could, a question for Jack too. So if we do have a petition come in and we have to hold a special election, what does it usually cost the city to hold a special election?
I double-checked that today and talked to Tom Hunt with the Anoka County Elections Department, and general estimates that we'd received, this is just in general, were $20,000 to $30,000. However, in this case, it's going to be $6,000 to $8,000 that include all the county costs of about $2,500 to $3,000, and then somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 for our costs for election judges, setups, and things like that. So there would be an additional cost if we do have a special election, but it would not be nearly as much as we'd originally anticipated.
Okay. Thank you.
Is this topic done? Well, we don't ask questions, I'm sorry, out in the council, but you'll get a public hearing, you'll be able to ask whatever you want to come up. I apologize on that. I thought things change, and they change quick when you talk to an attorney, so.
Or again, and I'll make the offer if anybody wants to meet with any of city staff, let us know. We'll be at your convenience, anytime, any place, anywhere. So that offer stands. So if you have questions, give me a call. We'll do our best to answer your questions.
Okay, I'm not picking on Megan tonight. She said I could do that, so.
That's right.
That's the buck.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor.
We're going to go on to item number
Hey, Mayor.
4.
One quick thing. I just wanted to thank everyone in the audience for showing up and coming. I mean, you don't have to show up to this stuff, but you're advocating for what you feel right about, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good point, Rob. We're going to item number 4, ordinance 26-06, driveway and access standards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at the May 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission meeting,
staff presented a draft ordinance and amendment to Section 7A-803 of the City Code related to construction elevations and driveway design requirements. The purpose of this amendment.
Can I interrupt? I'm having a hard time hearing you on the speakers here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better?
You got to really lean into the mic.
Okay. All right.
There it is.
There it is.
The purpose of this amendment is to modernize existing driveway construction standards, clarify access, surfacing requirements, and improve long-term safety. The current ordinance relies on standards originally adopted in 1992. Planning Commission identified several ongoing issues associated with outdated driveway construction practices, including gravel and loose aggregate being tracked onto paved roadways, inconsistent driveway widths and apron designs, inadequate drainage transitions, and concerns regarding emergency vehicle access. The proposed amendment updates and clarifies standards related to driveway width and apron dimensions, surfacing and paving requirements, culvert and drainage considerations, access standards for residential, commercial, and industrial properties, turnaround requirements for long rural driveways, seasonal construction and escrow requirements, coordination with other roadway jurisdictions, and city engineer authority for field adjustments and enforcements. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on June 17th, 2026, and received public comment from one resident regarding the proposed amendments to Section 7A-803. The resident had questions about how the proposed standards would affect his property that had frontage on both a city street and a county road. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission, by a 5-0, recommended approval to the City Council of the proposed amendment to Section 7A-803 as identified in Ordinance 26-06. Staff recommends that the City Council review the proposed amendments to Section 7A-803 and approve Ordinance 26-06 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Sorry, that was my car alarm, so I won't ask you to repeat it.
Well, they had everybody looking.
I know.
Thank
That
you.
was my tactic.
Well, does anybody on the council have a discussion about this issue, the driveway design? It's kind of been on our table for about a year and a half, 2 years, or whatever, and it's finally come before us. And it seems like the Planning Commission agreed to it, to this. But anybody have any comments?
I have a question. So does this apply to residential and commercial, or is it for both?
It's for both, yes.
And if I'm right, if you're can you be grandfathered in on this?
You can. So if you were to be remodeling now, you wouldn't have to follow these requirements, but past the ordinance being passed, you would have to comply with the apron requirements.
Now, anything that's existing would not be required to meet this, it would just be for new.
Okay, all new.
New and if they're going to reconstruct as well.
Yeah.
So new and reconstruct. And at the Planning Commission, they did have a public hearing, and there was a person that owned property on Broadway that did ask those questions. And this is, one of the questions he asked is, if it was a right-of-way onto a county road, did this apply? And the answer to that was yes, it's the right-of-way, it's not the county road. So if you're on a county road, it applies.
So, anybody want to make a motion?
This is Scott. I move to approve Ordinance 26-06, an amendment to Section 7A-803 of City Code.
Is it Jenny, a second?
We have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other discussion or questions on this topic? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passed. We'll go on to item number 5, Ordinance 26-07, notification of distance expansion for public hearings.
Thank you. Okay, so at the May 27, 2026 City Council meeting, staff provided an overview of a potential zoning code amendment related to the Fishing for Life conditional use permit application procedures and public notification requirements.
The discussion highlighted that the current ordinance language required mailed notice to property owners within 350 feet of the affected property and scheduling of a public hearing upon receipt of required fees and a completed application. Staff identified an opportunity to update notification requirements to better reflect the lot sizes across rural residential zoning districts. The proposed amendment is intended to revise public noticing requirements based on zoning district classifications. Under the proposed language, written notice would continue to be published in the official newspaper at least 10 days prior to the meeting, with mailed notification provided to property owners within 350 feet of the subject property and all the other zones besides rural residential. For properties located within the rural residential district, mailed notification would be expanded to include property owners within 1,250 feet of the subject property boundary to better account for larger parcel sizes and development patterns. Overall, the amendment aims to improve administrative consistency and provide clear expectations for applicants, staff, and public. The Planning Commission held a public hearing at its 6/17/2026 meeting. There were no public comment, and at its conclusion, the Planning Commission held a discussion and by a 5-0 vote recommended to the City Council the approval of Ordinance 26-07, amending Section 7A-545.
Is there any discussion on this? I think we discussed it once.
Yeah, I do have a question for council, if I may, Mayor. We did ask Bill when he was here. So this is only for the 1,250 feet, only for the rural residential district, and we're leaving the 350 feet for all other districts.
Yes.
Is there any liability to having two different distances within the city?
No, Commissioner Wendell, there is not not additional liability. The city has full discretion to determine from a policy perspective whether or not it wants to apply different distancing requirements for different districts. In this situation, the rural residential district oftentimes has larger lots that result in adjacent property owners not receiving notice, but they might receive certainly within any of your commercial districts. So not only do you have the authority to do so, but there is a generalized policy purpose for doing so that the city administrator and planner can speak to as well.
And just a follow-up, but if we had two different distances in the same district, then that would be cause for some concern, right?
Correct.
Which
there
we don't
be
have
uniformity.
here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a question here then, Megan. So we got the light industrial off of Lake Drive, and right behind it, we got the rural residential. So if we open up a CUP on the light industrial, do we have to go 350 feet or do we go 1,250?
Or the planner on how it's drafted.
I think the way it's drafted, it would still be the 350, and that should touch every adjoining light industrial property would be behind, every residential property would be behind that. But I think the way it's drafted, it would still be the 350 because that's consistent with that zone.
Okay.
Right, so within the commercial, and that's how I read it as well, just helpful to have staff's perspective in terms of the drafting. So again, within the commercial industrial district or the light commercial industrial district, that 350 standard would apply to those properties only if you are seeking a zoning ordinance amendment or a zoning ordinance change as a rural residential property owner, is when that heightened standard would apply.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
This is Jenny. I have one question. I know that at the Planning Commission meeting, I believe there was question over the clarification of the boundary, right? Because if I remember correctly, I know in the past, sometimes it was based on the dwelling. And so then you have this kind of situation where if you have a very large property, then all of a sudden we're not reaching everybody. So I know that there were questions about the clarification on boundary. And so I just wanted to be sure that I understand this correctly, that this wording of boundary ensures that every adjoining property, including across the road, would be included in that.
Yes, yeah, we decided to work from the boundaries of the property outwards instead of from the center of the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you for that. And, sorry, one follow-up question. That boundary then also includes the 350 feet?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this, Rob, I have a question then. Would that then reach certain individuals? I mean, there was people that came to the meeting that were farther than 1,250 feet, and they had concerns about, said project. And I think back to like 170th, was it? When we went into Thornbeck Preserve, those people thought that everybody on the road should be notified because it affected the whole road, right? When that road went into Thornbeck Preserve. So I don't know if this is far enough, or is this a start? We reopen this later, but.
I think it's a start, Rob.
Okay.
There's no magic in that number. I think it was,
Yeah, and I'm just trying to accommodate,
and if it doesn't, if it's not sufficient, we can amend it later.
Okay.
And if I may too, as I recall being at the Planning Commission meeting, I believe Aaron threw that number out there because we're moving from the center of the house, which could be anywhere on the property, to the closest border line.
Okay.
Right? And that 1,250 feet, I can't remember exactly what it was.
Pretty
but
big.
That would spread a reasonable distance out from the property line. And Aaron thought that it was a good starting point for.
Okay.
That any more than that, again, in our neighborhood, you go beyond 1,250 feet and you're covering the whole neighborhood, which,
Yeah.
is that what we really want to intend to do? So.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for everyone's work on this.
Megan, you look like you want to say something.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. I would say that the 1,250 feet would be one of the more aggressive notice provisions in the metro area. So I think it's a good starting point. Many cities, stick at 500 feet or 1,000 maximum. So I think it's a good place to start. And if you need to go further based upon, different facts and circumstances that come before you, we can always make that amendment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, someone want to make a motion or?
I can.
Okay.
This is Jenny. I move to approve ordinance 26-07, an amendment to section 7A-545 of City Code.
This is Karen, I'll second it.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other discussion or questions on the subject? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Motion passes. Go on to item number 6, July 7th, 2026, City Council Work Meeting Agenda. Yeah.
Before I start on that, I would like to mention one thing, is that going back to the costs that are represented in our estimates by Wold Architects for this, that include construction costs, soft cost and multiplier. Soft cost will be worded and fixed to address a new sound system within a new city hall.
That's great. Or else we could just hand out hearing aids.
You give megaphone.
We better have the workshop meeting about
All right.
about the cable commission before you say that.
The city council workshop meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, at 5:30 p.m. Staff recommends the following items be included on the agenda. From what was originally sent out in your packet, there have been 3 more items that have been added and one that's potentially going to be added too. That would be the city hall reconstruction and renovation, continued discussion if necessary, discussion of a take-home policy for vehicles, discussion of a Fall Fest dog ban, preview and preliminary report on the 2027 city budget, the consideration of whether to rejoin the Lower St. Croix Partnership Group with the Sunrise River WMO, city email notification change. I'll just briefly explain what that means. This relates to all the issues we have about communications. Currently on our city email list, there's 10 different categories that you sign up for, 1 or all 10. My proposal is to consolidate those into 1 because a lot of times people don't sign up for the things they really need to get notified on, and this would simplify that problem. So we'll have that laid out in the proposal made, but that's what this topic is about. The other one is a discussion on the Forest Lake Cable Commission asset discussion, and we want to also, if we have time, discuss proposed standards adoption. that are done. So it's a pretty aggressive meeting, but most of those hopefully won't be long discussions, and we can get all those in. If not, we'll have to pick the ones we want to carry over to the next meeting.
Thank you, Jack. Does anybody want to add anything to that? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that I move to approve the agenda for July 7th, 2026 City Council work meeting as amended in the staff report for this item.
Scott, I'll second.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any other discussion, questions on the subject? Hearing none. Jenny?
Jenny, I.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Go on item D, consultant liaison and staff reports. We'll go to Brian, the city engineer.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Brian Bachmeyer, Consulting City Engineer. Just an update on the Notre Dame project. The contractor has completed the paving work and graveling the shoulders since the last council meeting. The outstanding items to be completed within the next week are the pavement markings, resetting of the traffic control signs, and then also installation of the swing mailboxes. And that will complete the project, and that work is scheduled for next week. So it should be completed before the July 4th weekend. Pretty much on schedule. They started the first week of June, and they're wrapping up the last week of June.
Well, thank you. They're going to put the lines down then next week?
Pavement markings, correct.
Well, are they going to put lines in the parking lot too, JWs? Okay. And then you'll have those parking blocks there too? Oh, great. Great, looks good.
I was curious about that too. Yeah, reuse on
I'll
them.
go back in there. We're gonna do a little bit of work between the asphalt and the fence. We're gonna add some gravel and stuff in there. And we wanna do that before we put those tire stops in, but.
Great, great. Well, is that it, Brian? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll go to Megan, the city attorney report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this evening, the City Council will be conducting a closed session. And prior to the closed session, I will read the formal closing session notes. But just for the public record, a portion of our closed session this evening will be to discuss the performance evaluation of our city administrator. And a public body may close a meeting to evaluate the performance of an individual who is subject to its authority, and the city administrator has requested a closed session. The city administrator has also declined to participate in that closed session, but we will produce the information that comes from that closed session, including a resolution with adoption of the city administrator's salary at the next regular council meeting for anyone who is interested in that information.
Thank you, Megan. Item number 4, the EDA report. There is none. We have not had an EDA meeting since last council meeting. Personnel committee report is item number 5. We did have an interview for the park board and EDA yesterday, and we haven't offered anything yet to anybody to be on those boards yet. Am I correct, Jack?
That's correct. I think that proposal for a nomination for one or both of those spots will be at the July the 8th meeting.
Okay. The parks, on item number 6, the parks board.
Mayor, could I interrupt?
Yes.
Do you want to do number 3?
Oh, yeah. How did you catch that?
I didn't. Councilmember Bush did. I'm just getting closer to you.
Thank you.
I did learn how to count. Yep, we'll go on item number 3, mayor and city council report. We'll go to Jenny. You got anything?
No report this evening.
Scott?
I do have a report on the Forest Lake Cable Commission. 3 things I want to touch on here. It was a very long, busy meeting. First thing is there was a big part of that meeting was the bookkeeping services. As mentioned before, the RFP was sent out. There were 7 inquiries coming back for the new bookkeeping services. Colleen is the temporary bookkeeper over there. They're going to extend that RFP out to July 15th because there were many questions that they need the temporary bookkeeper to answer. So it's encouraging that they had 7 responses on that. And hopefully by the August meeting, we'll have a new bookkeeping service going there. Also, part of that is there's a lot of new policies and procedures to help guide the cable TV and the cable commission and provide oversight. They scheduled a second August meeting to get through all of those and approve all of those policies and procedures, which is a good thing. So it'll be August 6th for the first meeting. That's going to be all about the policy procedures going into the second meeting on August 20th. Item number 2 there is the commissioners voted to remove Jack and Cheryl. Our finance director and our city administrator has bank signers at their request, and we added myself as a bank signer. In addition, Jeff Durain, who is the other Columbus commissioner, is already a bank signer there. So you're off the hook.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Third thing I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be part of our workshop meeting, is there was a request made. There is a new policy in place that if we exceed a certain amount of money, it has to be approved by the commission. There was a request for a $600 switch as a temporary fix to a problem that's going on at Forest Lake City Hall. That request was denied because we already had one there that they could use. They just have to deprogram it and program it. So it was more of a matter of convenience. But what that did is it brought up the fact that the problem at Forest Lake City Hall could cost $100,000, up to $100,000 to fix. And so there was discussion on who owns what and who pays for what. Is that the city's responsibility, or is that the Cable Commission's responsibility to pay for that? And likewise, what if that happens in Columbus, AKA our speaker system here? It's not clear, and there's nothing in the Joint Powers Agreement that addresses that. Forest Lake is going, their city council member is going to ask to have that in their next workshop, and they asked Columbus to do the same thing and ask the Cable Commission to come in here and talk some more and figure out, you know, if the Cable Commission, and don't read anything into this, but if the Cable Commission ended today, who owns what and what stays here and what goes? That's not clear. So we need to have a discussion about that, as does Forest Lake. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Scott. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On June 11th, I attended the Sunrise meeting, and per our next agenda for our workshop, we'll be discussing and considering joining the Lower St. Croix Partnership. So that's all I have for you, sir.
Thank you, Karen. Rob?
All I have is Jessica Christensen, head of the PTO for Columbus School, reached out. They were able to raise the funds for that playground, so that'll be a go. The build will be in August. They're asking for public volunteers. So if there's any, they asked me to share if there's anyone out there looking to volunteer, we can get that link to them. They're also wondering if we could put it out on the city website. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Just to kind of drum up. Currently, I think they only got 3, including myself. It's going to be August 13th, starting at 2 p.m. That's a Thursday. They're going to hope to finish up on August 15th by 2 p.m. So given we have the individuals to help out, but there was some very sizable donors in the community that gave a lot of money to make that happen. So.
Rob, what are you looking for volunteers?
They're looking for general labor. You don't have to have previous type of construction experience, people to clean up, just kind of help material handle.
So this is for the install?
For the install, correct. Yep. So.
Rob, if you can get somebody from the PTO just to give us a little brief written description of what they're looking for, we can get that on the website.
Yeah, they said they reached out through the website before school got out. I'm sure it just, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on, and Aaron's taking on 2 roles, so I understand why.
Yeah, we'll get up with Aaron to make sure that's coordinated.
Otherwise, I can get you their contact information.
Yeah, if you can get me their contact information,
sure.
too, so we can follow up on that.
Yep. So that is all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I have is I received an email yesterday from Forest Lake Chamber of Commerce that they're going to have a ribbon cutting and equipment share at 10:45 a.m. tomorrow, ribbon cutting, and they're going to have their ambassador team there. And the ambassador team for the council's a member about 8 or 9, right, Gary?
Yeah, probably a dozen.
a dozen people that are welcoming the new business in the town. So that's what's going on there. Other than that, I have nothing else. Now, if I can keep up here, we go to the Parks Board. Item number 6, we haven't had a Park Board meeting, but just to let you know in the park that this Friday, we got 3 volunteers that are going to plant flowers and plants up on the east side of the park in that area that JW and his team cleaned out for us.
Nice.
So we're trying to make it a little prettier over there. And that's all I have on that one. Item number 7 is the Planning Commission report. Scott?
Yeah, well, good thing is we already heard everything I had to talk about, so I won't be so long-winded on this one. We voted to approve the 2 ordinance amendments. The last thing that they did is Aaron is providing some excellent planning and zoning training, and that will continue at their next meeting as well. So well worth sitting in on that.
Thank you. We'll go to item number 8, Public Works report. JW.
Mr. Mayor and Council, just one quick update item in the park. The punch list items were completed on the tennis court and pickleball courts. I've talked to numerous people out there playing in the last week or so, and everybody seems to be really happy. I've not seen anybody play tennis, only pickleball. So I think we made a good upgrade there. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I can remember there was only 2 people that came here for the tennis
Was that
court.
just to get me there? No, just kidding.
I think the 2 people that came here for the tennis court didn't live in the city. They lived in, no, they lived like down in Roseville or somewhere.
To be honest,
We're a dying
what's
breed.
ironic to me is up until this year, now granted, our courts weren't open early, but there's always been
Tennis people.
tennis people there steady, and I haven't seen one person play tennis yet. And pickleball courts are full.
Well, great. Great. It was a good decision.
I did see somebody playing tennis next to the 2 pickleball courts being used, and they weren't arguing with each other.
Is that all you have? Jim?
That's it. Thank you.
Item number 9, City Administrator's report. Jack?
I just want to remind everybody that the Night to Unite block parties, if you want to coordinate that through the Sheriff's Department, will be the first week in August. And if you want to have a party and put it on their list, just contact the Noble County Sheriff's Department. It's on their website as to what you need to do.
Well, thank you, Jack.
And the other thing I want to add too is in your next report, the Planning Commission meeting for July the 1st has been canceled.
Nice.
No, I'm off it. So it was canceled with the one before I started, and then the one after. So.
You didn't luck out.
Okay, we'll go to
If I could touch on that, the block party thing, if there's residents that are listening or those that are in the crowd, if you do throw one, they'll actually send out the fire department, an officer, so kids in the neighborhood can interact with that. That's pretty cool. So just wanted to share that.
Jack, I just have a question regarding that too. Don't we have a meeting that night, the 19th night? Do we have a meeting that night?
I have to double check the date of that. The only meeting we would have in August potentially would be if there's a workshop meeting, depending on what date it falls on. The first Tuesday and Wednesday of each month, we have a workshop on the Tuesday and a planning commission on the Wednesday.
Yeah, because it's August 4th, is it?
The Night to Unite party,
Yeah.
that's the one I would have to, I know it's the first week in August. I don't know the specific date yet.
It's always the first Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's workshop night.
We're going to item number E, announcements and reminders. 4th of July holiday, Friday, July 3rd, 2026. City Hall is closed. Next item is City Council work meeting, July 7th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. City Council meeting, July 8th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Fall Fest meeting, July 9th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. And the Planning Commission meeting on July 15th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Now we go to item number F, which is a closed session. And in a closed session, everybody has to leave the